If you're joining us online, hello, and please fill out the welcome online too. If you've been a long-term member of the congregation, there are name tags out there. I hope that you will use them, and there are also name tags for you to write on if did, put your phone on silent, please. And we're so glad you're all here. Our opening reading, remember, is by the preeminent physicist of our age, Albert Einstein. The human mind, no matter how highly trained, cannot grasp the universe. We are in a position of a little child entering into a huge library whose walls are covered to the ceiling with books in many different tongues. The child knows that someone must have written those books. It does not know who or how. It does not understand the languages in which they are written. The child notes a definite plan, an order, a mysterious order, which it does not comprehend. Dimly suspects. That, it seems to me, is the attitude of the human mind, even the greatest and most cultured, towards God. We see a universe marvelously arranged, obeying certain laws, but we understand the laws only dimly. Our limited minds cannot grasp the mysterious force that sways the constellations.
pretty sure all of us have heard of Albert Einstein, the 20th century genius who revolutionized theoretical physics and cosmology with his theory of general relativity, describing the workings of matter and energy. Perhaps less well known are the religious and ethical writings of Einstein, who was an eminent philosopher-scientist. This morning I want to read some excerpts from his book, The World as I See It, published in 1956. And I do this rather than paraphrasing or inserting my own views and opinions into it, because I want you to feel the depth of meaning of the words as he wrote them. Here they are. The development from a religion of fear to moral religion is a great step in a nation's life. Common to all these types is the anthropomorphic character of their conception of God. Only individuals of exceptional endowments and exceptionally high-minded communities, as a general rule, get in any real sense beyond this level. But there is a third state of religious experience which belongs to all of them, even though it is rarely found in pure form, and which I will call cosmic religious feeling. It is very difficult to explain this feeling to anyone who is entirely without it, especially as there is no anthropomorphic conception of God corresponding to it. The individual feels the nothingness of human desires and aims, and the sublimity and marvelous order which reveal themselves both in nature and in the world of thought. He looks upon individual existence as a sort of prison, and wants to experience the universe as a single significant whole. The beginnings of cosmic religious feeling already appear in earlier stages of development. For example, in many of the Psalms of David and in some of the prophets. Buddhism, as we have learned from its wonderful writings, contains a much stronger element of it. The religious geniuses of all ages have been distinguished by this kind of religious feeling, which knows no dogma and no God conceived in man's image, so that there can be no church whose central teachings are based on it. Hence, it is precisely among the heretics of every age that we find men who were filled with the highest kind of religious feeling and were in many cases regarded by their contemporaries as atheists, sometimes also as saints. How can cosmic religious feeling be communicated from one person to another if it can give rise to no definite notion of a God and no theology? In my view, it is the most important function of art and science to awaken this feeling and keep it alive in those who are capable of it. We thus arrive at a conception of the relation of science to religion very different from the usual one. When one views the matter historically, one is inclined to look upon science and religion as irreconcilable antagonists, and for a very obvious reason. The man who is thoroughly convinced of the universal operation of the law of causation cannot for a moment entertain the idea of a being who interferes in the course of events. A God who rewards and punishes is inconceivable to him for the simple reason that a man's actions are determined by necessity, both external and internal. Hence, science has been charged with undermining morality, but the charge is unjust. A man's ethical behavior should be based effectually on sympathy, education, and social ties. No religious basis is necessary. Man would indeed be in a poor way if he had to be restrained by fear and punishment and hope of reward after death. I maintain that cosmic religious feeling is the strongest and noblest incitement to scientific research. Only those who realize the immense efforts and, above all, the devotion which pioneer work in theoretical science demands can grasp the strength of the emotion out of which alone such work, remote as it is from the immediate realities of life, can issue. What a deep conviction of the rationality of the universe, and what a yearning to understand. Kepler and Newton must have had to enable them to spend years of solitary labor in disentangling the principles of celestial mechanics. Those whose acquaintance with scientific research is derived chiefly from its practical results easily develop a completely false notion of the mentality of the men who, surrounded by a skeptical world, have shown the way, scattered across the earth and the centuries. It is cosmic religious feeling that gives a man strength of this sort. A contemporary has said, not unjustly, that in this materialistic age of ours, the serious scientific workers are the only profoundly religious people. So that's the end of Einstein's excerpt that I want to read. It raises many questions. Among them, what about Moses and Jesus? What of Muhammad, Joseph Smith, and other prophets? Each of us will have our own answer, but mine is this. The prophets of the great religious traditions are people with thoughts and imaginations reflecting the times in which they lived. They're part of our evolving human story, subchapters within the unfolding story of the cosmos. Their lives and teachings unfolded as part of the cosmic evolution, as are the lives of each of us here. Einstein didn't invent cosmic religious feeling, as he called it. Response to the natural world is evident throughout the history of humankind. We see it in ancient ritual objects carved in stone and bone. We see it in the beliefs and practices of earth-centered religions. Pantheism, as a branch of theology, has existed for centuries. In our time, advances in space exploration and imagery, accompanied by huge increases in our knowledge of the universe, have produced not only cosmic religious feeling throughout humanity, but have birthed new prophets. In our time, people like Albert Einstein, Stephen Hawking, and others have come to be thought of as prophets and truth tellers. But it isn't necessary to be a theoretical physicist to appreciate the majesty of our universe with awe, wonder, and even love. Later this morning, we will invite you to come forward with your own expressions of cosmic religious feeling. But I leave this subject for now.
I bet you didn't know that Einstein was something of a prophet. You probably know that Einstein had notoriously long, puffy hair. I tried my best to romp the globe. I've been quite good this morning. You also may not have known that Einstein played the violin. And we are going to be blessed with some violin music in a moment. Reportedly, the great physicist said once that life without playing music is inconceivable to me. I live my daydreams in music. I see my life in terms of music. I get the most joy in life out of music. Archer?
Thank you very much. Okay, you're all on the spot. I'm inviting you to come forward with expressions of your own cosmic religious feeling. Perhaps this feeling has emerged from your scientific training, as it did for me. Because as a professional geologist, I discovered that geology was a gateway to inquiries into cosmology. Perhaps it issues from your earth-centered religious practices. Maybe it has no formal theological or scientific roots with you, but is your response to the new images from the Hubble and Webb space telescopes. Whatever it is, we would like to hear it. Please come forward.
I'm going to make this short to try to keep my ego in check. So, I had the privilege of being asked to do a commission of Einstein. I'm honored. I'm also honored to be married. Stand up, Peter. I was married to a man first, and I gave him everything I had, and he didn't want it. He was totally gay, and he didn't tell me. Finally, I cleansed my own soul when he said to me in an offhand way, "You probably hate me." I came over to him and put my arm around him, and I said, "No, I'll always love you." I'm so grateful. 12 years I was lonely as hell, and then Ed Aaron introduced me to Peter. My life has been changed more than infinitely. Thank you, Peter.
Morning.
Good morning.
I am a self-identified godless heathen, raised in a high-demand religion that surprisingly had a lot of respect for science and actually generated a Nobel Prize winner or two. And but I have found that as I have let go of religion, formal religion, and I often joke that religion is the stories we tell ourselves because we're scared of the dark and that we're scared of death and that whole existential crisis that we all face. But I find inspiration in a quote from Marie Curie. who I am a chemist, and she is one of the OG girl boss lady chemists in history. You know, two Nobel Prize winners, first female Nobel Prize winner, only person to have a Nobel Prize in 2 different disciplines. But she said, nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood. Now is the time to understand more so that we may fear less. And I remember when I was working in healthcare and I was waiting for that pandemic wave to hit us. It was March of 2020, and we were watching all of the death and sorrow coming from New York and across the country. And I remember finding solace in that quote. And so I set about not to be scared anymore. And I listened to and read every single book I could find about epidemiology and plagues and, you know, all of those different subjects. And so I practically have a minor in it now. But it was such a great help because the more I understood the mechanics of disease and the social aspects that affect disease and epidemiology, the better I felt, like the less fear I had. And I had more knowledge to arm myself to protect me and my loved ones and my community. And so science has been a great comfort to me my whole life. And so I just wanted to share that quote with you, because the more we know, the more we understand something, the less power it has over us to scare us. Thank you. Thank you.
So most of you know that I grew up Jewish, and I'm still Jewish. It was a blessing of the Unitarian Church that I didn't have to leave that behind. And, you know, the joke's always been if you put 3 Jews in a room, you'll get 6 opinions. And, you know, and it's no wonder that economists are predominantly Jewish. But I'm an artist, and one side of my brain has always said, there can't be a God. That doesn't make any sense. A magic being up in the sky, you know, controlling things and whatever. And of course, thinking, if there's a God, how can he or she allow the suffering that takes place in the world? But when I'm out in the natural world, which inspires my artwork, I look around me and I marvel. I think some of the most, you know, there are points in your life, I refer to them as peak experiences in your life, and they're always in nature for me. They're not in, you know, watching a movie or reading a book or poetry or anything. It always seems to be out in nature, and when I need to calm my mind, I take myself back to those places that I've had the privilege of experiencing. And it's interesting because a year and a half ago we were in the Vatican museums, which are mind-boggling. I mean, almost overwhelming if anyone else has been there. But I didn't feel that there. But I felt it, you know, out in the nature surrounding the places that we got to visit in Italy. And I say to myself, how could there not be a God? How could there not be a higher being of some kind that created all this beauty and has given us the opportunity and the capacity to appreciate it? Thank you.
So as I was listening to John and to Bill, I found myself thinking about, sometimes when I think about science, okay, I think about the most useful things that are so simple that you just trip over them. One of them being when you teach your children how to tie their shoe. What science goes into tying a shoe? Well, there's friction, compression, tension. all kinds of things happen because you tie your shoe. And when I used to tell my young kids, well, if you throw your shoelaces together, you aren't tying your shoe. But if you tie your shoe, then you can run, you can go far. And so it makes me think about science being the avenue, and it helps us to go far when we learn how to use the tools that it gives us. And if we don't learn them, then we can't go as far, and we have to stop and tie our shoes. So just little things like that just really make me appreciate the scientific process. Because every day you sit down and you tie your shoes, it's science, and did you do it well or did you not?
Yeah, I'm just a geologist.
So if anybody has a problem with their shoes coming undone, Ivan Lendl, the tennis player, I saw him on TV. You put the loop through twice and pull it.
Hi, everybody. When Bill said, do you have anything that relates to...
Use your teacher voice.
Oh, yes, okay. Anyways, the first thing that popped into my head when Bill said something, and it kind of mirrors your, the sense of like knowing when you find the right person. And I was engaged in college in 1979, to be married around 1980, 81, somewhere around there. And we moved out to California because my fiance had an internship. And I struggling to become a photographer, and I freelanced and I did things, and I was terrible at it because I didn't know at that time I had ADD, and I was just too scattered to kind of focus on finding a career. Long story short, the relationship didn't last because I realized I was kind of mirroring my mother. She drank and smoked, and I go, I don't want that, I have asthma. And then I decided to study a little bit of Native American stuff and joined a men's group. And in that men's group was a guy named Michael Botkin, who was involved with vision questing at the time. Now, I didn't know, but Michael was Arlene's first husband. So at the time, I had no clue. And my dog introduced me to Arlene, which is kind of normal if you have a good dog. You kind of chick magnet, I guess they call it. And then we went to a Jewish thing in Tiburon, and then I went on a vision quest up in the, well, first we went on a nice hike up in the Trinities. It was the first time I ever hiked 7 miles up a mountain. I just never had the power and the energy to do that. So I knew things were changing when I met Arlene because my health started getting better. And then I thought she dropped me off at Mount Shasta afterwards, but I think it was a couple weeks later. And I spent 3 days and 3 nights fasting on a mountain near the top of the snow line, you know, right there. You've been to Mount Shasta. And I was with a group, so it was not dangerous per se. Even though you were isolated, there was always an outsider, one of the group leaders that would walk around and look from a distance to make sure.
And that's before it blew up, right?
No, this is, Mount Shasta's been, that's Mount,
Oh, St.
that's Mount St. Helens. But, so you build a medicine circle, and you prayed in a fair direction. So it's the first time I actually really think prayed in my life. And I go, well, what's my vision? You know, and first night is you kind of get used to the surroundings. Second night you kind of make a little grave for yourself, and you try to sleep in it all night. And you cover yourself up with branches. And the third night you're supposed to stay up all night and pray. Well, of course, it's hard to not stay awake all night, but I built a circle, and I did my best, and you're freezing, it's high elevation. And at sunrise, okay, I still haven't had a vision. And then I'm just kind of sitting there, and no closer than Peter and you guys walked 2 deer by my circle. And they was like I wasn't even there, I was just like a rock. And I go, I think that's my vision. I didn't say that at the time, but I just figured that's it. And I came off, and my question to God was, should I marry this woman? And at the time, I didn't know it, but she was pregnant. So the mother, Joe, walking by my circle, I go, that's Cosmos talking. That's Cosmos. And so I feel like, yeah, we're connected in so many ways. And not just a Bible or a sentence in the Bible, but a sense of like, you just have to be still and listen. And not long afterwards, I started my career in photography, and I've been blessed with things. So that's my story.
My name's Danette. Really appreciate being able to reflect on this. I had never actually heard the phrase cosmic religious experience before today, but I recognize it in thinking about that, so I'm happy to learn about that. So I also feel it in nature, but Karen has described that, but I'm going to tell an experience that does not have to do with nature, but it has to do with people. But I think I can put it in that category of cosmic religious experience. I'll try to talk louder. Hopefully in the back row you can hear me. So my son was 24. My son was 24 and he was killed in a motorcycle accident. And it was a very hard time. And I read a lot, and I will say that Elizabeth Kubler-Ross's writings were very, very helpful to me. And I read a lot of her books, and one of the last books that I read of hers, which it turns out I think it was the last book that she had written over this huge lifetime of working with people that were close to death. And she was the one that came up with the 5 stages of grief, not because she said you have to go through them. She observed that this happened again and again and again in the hundreds and hundreds of people that she was close to when they died. And I learned a lot from that. But the last book that she wrote, that said it brought together everything that she had done, which was just, life is about love. Like, it didn't matter about our differences. It didn't matter about, I'm going to now put probably some of my own words in, but this is what I do. It doesn't matter who we are. It doesn't matter what our religion is. It doesn't matter everything about life. Ultimately, this is her learning. It was all about love. To me, that is a cosmic religious experience. And I'll tell one more story if I can that goes along with that. So after my son was Jason, so after Jason passed away, there were just so many unbelievable experiences, people writing me letters, just experiences, feeling his spirit close to me different times. I mean, I could spend another hour talking about that, but I just want to describe one experience. So I ultimately ended up quitting my job. I just needed some time to, what I call, grieve productively. And I stepped away. I didn't read email for 6 months. And then I had to go back to work. It wasn't a retirement plan. And a friend from Australia, he taught some workshops, and
I had decided I needed to go back to work, but the good news was I could smile again, I could set goals again, life could be good again. And just at the perfect right time, he contacted me and said, I'm coming to Los Angeles. I was living in San Francisco Bay Area at the time. He says, I'm coming to Los Angeles, will you come and help teach this workshop with me? So that was my first, after 9 months of stepping away, that was my first opportunity to put my foot back in the waters of having to move my career forward. And so I did that. It was a really good experience. The workshop was over. I'm ready to go home, and we got done some hours earlier than I had suspected. So I was trying to get an earlier flight home. I travel enough for business. I know how to maneuver things. I know how to, check in, check there. Everything I tried would not let me get a flight home earlier. So I said, okay, I'm giving up. I'll just go sit at the airport and wait. Happened to be the flight was Southwest, the old Southwest, if you ever remember it. You go early, you stand in line, that's how you get to board, no assigned seats or anything. So it's just me sitting on the floor at the front of the line and a young gentleman sitting next to me. And we had all this time to talk. We were decades apart in age. We had different backgrounds. We were different races. And under a normal circumstance, maybe we wouldn't have started talking because maybe we thought we didn't have anything in common. So we sat and we talked, and I ended up telling him about my son, and he ended up telling me that he was on his way to San Francisco because his nephew had been killed in a football game. He was a football player, and there was some kind of, something that happened, and he died, and he was only in high school, a young man. And I said, oh, I heard about that. When I had left the house that morning, I take the San Francisco Chronicle, and there was a front page story about this young man, and for whatever reason, I picked it up, and I tucked it in my purse. And so I'm talking to this young man. That was his nephew. And I said, here, I have this information. And I gave him the paper, and he was so grateful to be able to have that about his nephew. When we have those connections, to me, the connections with people are my cosmic religious experience. And I felt like I really experienced that at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. My name is Angie, and I'm happy to be here today. I was excited for this sermon. I don't know what you guys call it, service. And thank you, Danette. I was sort of thinking on the same wavelength as you. When I left my religion of origin, I guess, and people would talk about spirituality, that spirituality has, still has a place in our lives, whether you're in a religion or not. I would say my spirituality is my relationships with other people. I love that. And it's been interesting to me during this service to hear people bring up their relationships, their spouses, their friends. I come from the soft sciences. I'm a social worker. And I guess I just wanted to say another thought of mine today has been about sort of the yin and yang. We yearn for connectedness but also uniqueness, science, and religion, a molecule, and the cosmos. And I really think it's been beautiful here today, and I thank you all for it.
We together bless all of these reflections and connections we have with each other. And we continue in this collective service and prayer to pursue our ritual of candles and stones, where you come up and light a candle to lift up your hopes and your aspirations and your thoughts on this complex challenge and joy of being human. Let the candle hold your hopes, and then if you'd like, drop a stone into our gathered waters to release a burden or let go of a regret, and let the waters take that burden and help release it. Please come forward. The offering is a gesture of gratitude to this community and a way that we can participate in continuing our efforts both in our own community and the community at large. We'll now collect the offering. Please rise in body or spirit, face the center aisle, and sing the offering words in your order of service. Thank you. Your gratitude is gratefully accepted. I would like to point out that maybe you can hear me a little better now because I turned on the microphone. Brent Johnson came in and put a microphone up here with a switch for the speaker to turn on when they realize they're not being heard. If when you're here and you can't hear, if you could let us know, it's up to the people up front to remember to turn on the switch and make it work. And there is a volume control that we can adjust also. So we just need a little feedback in that case. Also, I want to note that we have fresh candles and new covering. Looks nice. Thank you, Karen, for coming in and doing that. Are there any other announcements that need to be made? Karen?
So this church, along with First Presbyterian, sponsors our Girl Scout troop, Troop 17, and cookies are coming. And we actually have cookie booths in March. Is that right, Debbie? Over across the way when we have coffee with the Presbyterians. But we'll let you know about how cookie sales are going and who you can buy from, and hopefully you'll buy from one of the members of our troop. We have 3 openings in our troop, and so if you know of any little girls between 2nd and 5th grade, we would love to have them join us. Talk to me or to Debbie Hackett after the service. Thank you.
Well, it hasn't been 18 years of exactly marital bliss, But today is our anniversary.
As our service draws to an end, it's time to extinguish our chalice with the words you have in the order of service. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, nor the energy of action.
I have a reading and a benediction to have us finish this morning. A human being is part of the whole, called by us universe, a part limited in time and space. He experiences himself, his thoughts and feelings as something separated from the rest, a kind of optical delusion of his consciousness. This delusion is a kind of prison for us, restricting us to our personal desires and to affection for a few persons nearest to us. Our task must be to free ourselves from this prison by widening our circle of compassion to embrace all living creatures and the whole of nature in its beauty. Those are the words of Albert Einstein. And from a letter of Paul to the Romans, do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds. Blessed be, go in peace.
Thank you.